to know where he was or what he was doing. Very frightening. Next. Talking a little bit more about the military budget, this is where, 549 is where we stand in sequestration level. The last budget from the last administration was at 584, and we see here this increase in the president's budget to $603 billion. So that you know, what we are advocating for from the Armed Services Committee standpoint is a $640 billion defense budget. And one of the ways that we're trying to talk about defense spending is not in terms of dollars. It's become very fungible in Washington, and it's far too easy to flippantly say, a billion here, a billion there. Eventually it adds up to real money. What we're trying to do is frame the conversation in terms of capabilities. And so if we do $603 billion instead of $640 billion, these are the capabilities that you lose. Ground force readiness, medical readiness, nuclear arsenal upgrades and deterrence, ballistic defense, enhanced cyber capabilities. Quite literally, air dominance, a big one. These are the types of capabilities you lose, and then if you, it's just like with a problem that big, it takes a whole lot of one at a time success stories to make a dent in it. Kind of like the fable of the boy who is on the seashore covered in starfish that have all washed up, and he's throwing them back one at a time. Old man says, well, how can you make a difference? You got all these starfish going to die. Throws one back, says, what made a difference to that one? That's, I guess, how you got to take your wins when fighting that battle. What other major, you see property crime here, you see, other than the drug stuff that you deal with, what's the high frequency encounters that y'all have?
Property crime comes with the drug problem.
Yeah, our employees, and we're that 38, 39. That's what we've had to do, unfortunately. One of our big challenges is the cost of health insurance, and so the consequence is you don't see people getting raises because all the money has to go to pay for these higher premiums. You don't see new jobs, and then a lot of the other benefits are a problem. What is your employer going to do? Can they really match your 401k contribution if premiums continue to rise? So that's what we're seeing, the ripple effects throughout the economy, and eager to get your feedback. HSA, and that really worries me. This demonstrates that real sharp spending increase, and also that we got this huge increase in the spending because more people are going to qualify for various entitlements. We've got this demographic boom with the baby boomers, and millennials like me didn't have kids. But the revenue is sort of flatlined here. The proof, or what this tells me, and I want to know if it tells you all the same thing, is that we can't just cut our way to a balanced budget. We've got to cut spending. It is the problem. But we also, this blue line's got to go up. We have to reinvigorate the economy where there's more revenue and more economic activity, because on our current growth path, with revenue flatlined, with spending and costs skyrocketing, we're looking at a real problem. And on top of that 28 trillion where we'll be in 10 years, there's another 100 trillion in unfunded liabilities on top of that. That to make the argument, because they're trying to get trauma to our model all over Florida, and now you are the example of how that works. And so that's pretty fantastic for this hospital here in Fort Walton Beach to be the shining example of what can happen when we get government out of the way and have a rigorous private sector review process like we have with the American College of Surgeons.
We want you to be proud too. We want you to have us as your star as well, and that when you represent us, and that that the hospital is behind you, and that you're responsible for a lot of what we've done here. You can stand proud that what you've done is really making it not only an initiative to the community, but also in the state, as far as recognition of the progress that can be made purely because of your initiative.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And Joe's completely right. You have touched lives that you have never met, whether it's and you will continue to touch lives.
We were just looking at videos and photographs before you came in of all the the clear wins.
Well, it gets me choked up. I honestly believe that getting this trauma center in our community is the most important work I've done as a public servant. And that's why I like coming here and bragging on you. When we had met last, Dr. Sievkert, we were having some challenges with the payers, particularly in the Medicaid managed care world that we're in. We're looking at some pretty major Medicaid reforms at the federal level. One of the things... From time to time, members of Congress host field hearings outside of Washington, D.C. to be able to gather information, discuss ideas, and then hopefully formulate concepts that can be converted to public policy moving forward. And this is one such hearing that I'm very delighted to be co-hosting with my colleagues here today, who I'll introduce. I'll mention that intellectual property theft is a very important issue. It impacts both our economy and our national security. I want to thank Florida State University for allowing us to host this field hearing, particularly Tony Moore and Kathy Mears, who helped us secure this wonderful venue. Before I begin, I'm going to introduce our panelists. Immediately to my right is Dr. Neil Dunn. He represents Florida's 2nd Congressional District, which includes Tallahassee. He's a close friend, a tireless advocate for his constituents. He also is a key member of the Science, Space, and Technology Committee in the Congress, which has very direct bearing on the issue that we'll be discussing today. In conjunction with spending cuts. Or in Florida, we were very blessed that each and every year the big fight was how do we spend all of the new money we weren't expecting. And I tried to get as much of it back as possible. And so watch the healthcare debate closely. Your concern and your focus on tax reform is well placed. I hear it everywhere I go. I think most of my colleagues do as well. But I could not, in good conscience, represent to you, a high level of confidence that we'll be able to have deficit-neutral tax reform in the absence of healthcare reform. Please reach out to our 2 Northwest Florida senators, Senator Broxson and Senator Gaynor, and ask them to pass the House bill. Let's not allow perfect to be the enemy of the good. Let's not siphon these funds off into disparate accounts. Let's keep them together so that they can have a real regional impact. Third thing, let's make sure that we fully support Rob Williamson as he carries this fee simple legislation to the county commission for their sign-off. If that were to break bad, if there were to be disagreement there, then that would set us further behind and impair the timeline that I laid out for you, Vic. So that would be the third thing I'd ask you to do is support him. Fourth, please drop an email or a call to Senator Rubio's office. Thank them for working with us to keep separate the question of fee simple and the question of the Navarre Pass. I think they need that feedback from us so that they can fend off amendments and know that we care about those things.